I've been told that my reels might be a little bit long and slightly dry. So here's the deal. I'm not going to change the content, but I'm going to speak much faster. Meet Tomas from Chile.
Hi, Tom.
Day 1 of his freediving course, he held his breath for 5 minutes. No practice, just did it. Now, a year later, 8 minutes.
8:02.
About the same as me. But here's the thing. While I'm managing CO2 almost the entire time, Tomas feels it much, much less. Different divers, same CO2, completely different experience. So what exactly is it that makes Tomas's experience of CO2, or your own buddies, so different? That's what this inquiry is about. Part of the difference starts before you even hold your breath. Baseline PaCO₂, the amount of CO2 in your blood right now sitting here, varies between people. Some people sit at around 35 millimeters of mercury, others closer to 45. That's the normal range, but it means roughly a 30% difference in your starting point. So when CO2 climbs during a breath hold, your body might be starting from a lower baseline, meaning they could have more runway before their chemoreceptors start screaming. Others start closer to the edge. Then there's how your chemoreceptors actually respond. Both the carotid body and central chemoreceptors vary in how steeply they respond to acidity. Some scientists call that the gain of the response. Research shows that some people have up to 4 times stronger chemosensitivity than others. Let me pause here because when I started reading papers on this, it blew my mind. A common way to measure chemoreflex to CO2 is by measuring ventilatory response. Basically, your drive to breathe is measured in liters per minute for each millimeter of mercury of CO2 rise. An increased ventilatory response can be seen through taking more breaths per minute, or by taking deeper breaths. Low responders might increase by about ½ liter per minute per millimeter. High responders, 2 liters per minute, or even higher per millimeter. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, during static apnea, trained elite-level freedivers, CO2 rises about 4 millimeters of mercury per minute. So after 2 minutes, a low responder's air hunger equals about 4 liters of additional ventilatory drive. But a high responder, 16 liters. Okay, now obviously we're holding our breath, so we're not actually breathing, but our brains are saying, I need to breathe 16 liters more than usual. Whereas a low responder, their brains are just saying, I want to breathe 4 liters. You can see that's a massive difference. And there's one more thing. These receptors don't work alone. They interact and amplify each other's signals. Add in lung stretch receptors, and you can see why some people's response can be even more than 4 times. Tomas, well, he could have low gain receptors. His sensors stay quiet while CO2 climbs. Then there's buffering, the body's natural methods of absorbing CO2. The amount of bicarbonate, kidney efficiency, and hemoglobin all change how much acid your blood can handle before pH drops. Better buffering means a smoother ride before your brain even notices. Think of it like noise-cancelling headphones, but for CO2. And here's where lifestyle matters. A protein-heavy diet, especially cheese and processed meats, not only produce more CO2 through digestion, but also increase what's called PRAL, your potential renal acid load, mainly from sulfuric acid produced when breaking down amino acids. Your buffering system gets busy dealing with dietary acid load, leaving less capacity for CO2. Same with exercising right before static. Lactic acid from your workout is already demanding buffering capacity. Next comes software, the brain's interoceptive network, the insula, anterior cingulate, and amygdala. If you missed my interview with respiratory scientist Martin McPhillamy, check it out as we discuss this extensively. Martin mentions that some people have a noisier baseline. Any additional signal builds on what's already there. Think trying to hear a whisper at a concert is kind of stressful. But others, perhaps Tomas, are quieter. Same whisper, but in a library, much easier. Daily stress and past traumas can turn up the baseline volume too. Then, experience steps in. Divers who train CO2 or practice mindfulness learn to observe sensations instead of catastrophizing them. It's possible that because Tomas didn't have such a fight with CO2 from day 1, he never learned the panic response. He just skipped that whole character arc. Others tense up, labeling every contraction as mortal danger, which, spoiler alert, amplifies the stress response, which, spoiler alert, amplifies the urge to breathe. Even lifestyle, stress recovery, fitness modulates how reactive you are. There's one important caveat. Almost all the research I've cited studies men, but we know hormones can affect respiratory drive. I don't want to mansplain.
And that's okay, because I can do it for you if you want. I'll do it. Yeah, off we go. Okay. So progesterone, it's basically a breathing stimulant, right? And when they tested this stuff in the lab, they found progesterone really amps up your sensitivity to CO₂. And because your sensitivity to CO₂ goes up, your urge to breathe also increases. That means our hormones could really mess with our CO₂ tolerance. So things like period, menopause, contraceptives, pregnancy, all of this changes our hormone levels quite a bit. Some of us notice our breath holds feel different depending on which part of the cycle we're on, and some others just don't feel anything at all. And that's really okay because it's just so individual. But luteal phase is not a reason to skip training. Just manage your expectations. The point is, we don't actually know, right? I mean, the research only looked at guys, and we're talking about half of the divers out there, and nobody studied us properly yet. And I bet the variation between women is just as crazy as it is between men, probably even more. So right now, it's all just guesswork, right? The science basically just needs to catch up, and that's all there is to it, really.
Thanks for that.
Okay.
So, your ability to handle CO₂ isn't the same as your body's, even if you started diving at the same time. It's the sum of your chemoreceptors, your blood chemistry, brain wiring, emotional habits, and lifestyle. Those are the main factors. And there are others too. Lung size probably helps a bit with CO₂ dilution, spleen contraction, diving reflex strength, genetics, all these things can add up to change how CO₂ is tolerated. And here's the twist with Thomas. While some static apneists hyperventilate to reduce CO₂, before long holds, he can't. Too much hyperventilation, and he's had blackouts from low CO₂. So maybe saying he's more tolerant than me is not correct. He's just built different, literally. So what is it exactly that makes Thomas different to me? Well, for the moment, we don't really know.